Good evening, and welcome to another unrehearsed episode of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now here's your unrepentant and unredacted host, Voice of Doom. Hello. Decided not to hold the mic this time. See how it works out sound-wise. I keep on wanting to finish the projects I start with Diatribes, but things crop up that get me distracted. So I have to still do my short ones, as I told her. Now, saw something on Liberal Hive Mind, and then this guy making the comments about utter impunity by the leftoids and the Ds. And I watch it every day pretty much, like his stuff. Talking about this Don Lemon business, which is just more business. It's actually pretty boring, but it got me to thinking when I was watching the comments and watching the interview between Vivek Ramaswamy and Don Lemon. And I found it interesting because I was saying something to myself as I was watching it, and it got me to thinking about a deeper existential subject called racism. Before should I give my immediate impression? They were arguing back and forth about whether this fighting of the Civil War allowed people of color to have guns and have their Second Amendment rights, or whether it was something else. They were just arguing back and forth just to argue. But basically talking about racism, talking about gun control, and talking about people of color having guns, which apparently Lemon does not want them to have. So if they outlaw all guns, everyone will be safe. But the main ironic part I noticed with this segment was Lemon was saying, the skin I live in every day, you're not, you don't know my experience, so don't black-splain to me. They both have the same color skin. Look at them. Vivek Ramaswamy and Don Lemon have the exact same complexion. If you shaved them bald, you would say they could be brothers. Literally. From the same womb. And even the same father, possibly. Now, Vivek Ramaswamy was born August 8, 1985, 2 years after I graduated from college. So right away, his credibility, just a little kid. Cincinnati, Ohio, okay, he's got a brain, he got a BA in biology and a JD in law, and he started a pharmaceutical company. And it's mostly been a failure, but he did it. He got a fellowship from the Paul and Daisy Soros Foundation, Paul being the older brother of George. Make of that what you will. He's a gopper. Anti-CRT, anti-stakeholder theory. It means that corporations can't do anything without thinking about somebody way far away that might be affected. And censorship. He's against all those three things. He's against the environmental, social governance. Hates it. But yet he was funded by Soros, so maybe Soros is playing both sides of the fence. Paul Soros, they're both the same. Paul died in 2013. Okay. So his parents were an engineer and a patent attorney. His father was doing both. and his mother was a geriatric psychiatrist, so he comes from intelligent stock as far as human intelligence. Went to a Jesuit school. He's a Hindu. Don Lemon, born March 1st, 1966, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He didn't know who his father was until he was 5. I don't know. They talk about this race issue being, when you block explain, you say, well, they're one-parent families, and then people scoff and say, how dare you say anything. But his father was a civil rights attorney, so he came from good stock too, and his maternal grandmother was half white. So it may be complicated when the reparations come around. He's going to have to pay himself, at least some of it. He won the Edward R. Murrow Award in 2002 for his reporting on the DC sniper capture. So he is a journalist. He writes down what happened, which is what journalists do nowadays, because that's all they can do, because they learned very early on, when I was a very small child, back in the mid-60s, that you do not do any investigative journalism without the okay of the powers that be. If they want you to expose something, they'll let you. If you expose something they don't want you to know, guess what happens? You're killed. Okay, now, so journalism has been dead for a long time. So he calls himself a journalist. He's a person that reports on what he's seeing with his own eyes. That's good. Anybody can do that. Just telling you a couple of background biographical stuff about these guys. And then Lemon, who has the same exact complexion as Ramaswamy, tells him, you don't know what it's like to be in my skin, or something to that effect. And he must mean the black experience compared to the Indian experience. Got here some evidence. India has had slavery since, in the Buddhist times, 500, 600 BC, there were servants and slaves. And that was under the Vedic tradition. Now, of course, the Buddhists came along and said slavery is wrong, and it was abolished for a time, 1,000 years to be exact. Slavery came back into northern India when the Muslims took over, and they brought slavery back. They enslaved Hindus. What else can I say about slavery in India? In the 17th, 18th, and 19th century, the European colonists enslaved Indians and took them here, there, and everywhere, much like their brethren in Africa. In fact, some of the Indians went to Africa. Some of the Africans went to India. So I just wanted to throw that in before we go on with our discussion of racism. So the skin I live in every day, you have the same exact skin color I have. Your ancestors were enslaved, my ancestors were enslaved, but we're going to argue about whether guns should be allowed in the hands of people of color. And the person of color is saying no. So make of that what you will. It doesn't make any sense, but what I will say about some subjects is they are distractions. And this racism business is one of the biggest distractions ever. I have to laugh at everybody that makes hay when they use the word racism. It just means that they're delusional. They're going to have to live a bunch more lifetimes to even get to the point where they can think properly. First of all, if you want people to be distracted, you give them a problem they can't talk about. That's brilliant. Racism is one of the worst problems in what used to be the United States. Racism is perpetrated by white supremacy. Now, that's a big problem in what used to be America, so maybe we should discuss it. Well, we can't talk about it. You start talking to me about racism, you're not in my skin. Well, you're not in my skin. Well, whatever. Whoever's skin is where, whoever's in anybody's skin, we're all going to be skinned if we don't get with it and start forgetting about these distractions. And anytime you see some person like a D on a hearing talking about, there's a hearing with Jim Jordan right now about weaponization of government. Okay. Black lady comes to testify, or she's the co-idiot that won't get anything done. And she pontificates about how January 6th and Trump did it. He weaponized government more, and the whole 9 yards. You say anything against her, you're a racist. So do you want to be part of the picture or not? If you want to be part of the picture, then don't yell when somebody criticizes you and say it's because of my skin. Ridiculous and stupid, and everybody knows it. So why are people of color most of the underclass? Why are they not given a fair shake? Why are their cities in a shambles? Why are their neighborhoods unsafe? Because they come from one-parent families? Probably not. I think Dr. Benjamin Carter came from a one-parent family. That might be part of it. Have two people working together, it's easier to raise kids. Could it be because if you're told all your life you're oppressed and you start acting like it? Could that be a reason? Something to think about. Could it be a reason that the youth, whatever skin they may travel in, decide to tear up and loot cities and loot stores, forcing the stores to close down and move out, and then people bitch about the fact that they don't have any stores in their neighborhood because they're being oppressed, and it's wrong, biased, it's prejudiced. You hate people of color. See, we have no gas stations, we have no convenience stores, we have no Walmart, we have no Whole Foods. Why? Obviously why? You looted it. Now who's going to call a club a club? I don't even use the phrase because that's probably banned. Who's going to call a club and say, you create your own environment, you create your own life condition, everyone together, you allow crime to run rampant and then complain about the crime? I mean, it's so obvious. Do I have to even explain it more? I think I said enough about this. I know there's more to say, but I don't want to waste my breath. Because whenever someone uses the word racism, you know they've reached the wall and their back is up against it. It's obvious. Come on. I'm going to leave it there. I think it was a pretty good one. I think it was informative for everybody. And I know I forgot some stuff I was going to say. So enjoy the day, everybody.